Welcome to the Cannon Fire Podcast. We are on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Podbean. If you're new around here, I am your host, Rhett. Joined alongside me, as always, my good buddy and co-host, Mr. Bucs Football, Evan. Welcome back to the show for episode 48. And we are not by ourselves today. Let's get into things. Joining us today, a very special guest, former Buccaneers Safety, Keith Tandy. Keith, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
I am doing pretty good. Very glad to have you here. Now, Evan, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am doing good. And like I said, we have got an action-packed show. We've got very special guest, Keith Tandy, with us. So let's really kind of jump into this thing. So, folks, if you were not familiar, Keith Tandy, again, former safety for the Buccaneers, drafted in 2012 by the Bucs, played for 5 years until 2017, spent some time in Atlanta, and is now a free agent in the NFL. Very, very glad to have you here with us. And let's get this thing on the road. So we had some questions for you and some things that we really wanted to ask. Some of these questions come from fans. Some of these questions come from us as well. But they're mostly going to be about your time in Tampa Bay. And just kind of kick things off here, your first impression of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, kind of getting into the building in 2012 and things like that, your rookie season. How did that all go for you?
I mean, it ended up going pretty good, but when I first got there, I had really no idea what to expect. Like, you hear stuff in college, oh, it's such a business and stuff like that, so you really don't know what that means. And then when you get there, it was going pretty good at first. So the rookies get there first, and all the workouts and stuff, we all together, so it's going good. Then the vets get there, and everything was still going good, going smooth. But then it's like that first time you see somebody get cut, it was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. And
that was probably the hardest thing for me to get. Well, I never got used to it, but that was the hardest thing for me to get used to, seeing guys come and go so fast.
Definitely. It's a rapidly changing environment in the NFL. Now, Evan, I'm going to toss it over to you. We'll just kind of go back and forth here on the questions and kind of toss around, see what we can get.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first off, thank you, Mr. Tandy, for joining us tonight. Basically, Dirk Cutter was the head coach of the Buccaneers for 3 seasons, and you were with him for 2. He was the offensive coordinator in 2015, head coach in 2016 and 2017, plus you spent training camp and the preseason with him as the head coach. Of course, as you probably know, he was relieved of his duties this offseason after 3 seasons. What are your thoughts on Coach Dirk Cutter? And was he as advertised as a player's coach?
I believe he was. I love Coach Cutter. It was no hard feelings when they released me. I understand you got to do what you think is best for this team in order to win. And it's a funny thing about football where it's they always tell us a stat. I forget exactly what it is, but 65% of the games are one-score games. And it's kind of just it can be one little thing that changes a whole season, whether that be somebody catch a ball or missed assignment, whatever. And that can really change the perception of how you was as a player or as a coach.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason, I think, the big reason that Dirk Cutter was let go was his overall record in one-score games. As you said, most NFL games are going to be decided by one score. We're seeing that in the playoffs right now. Playoff games are always tight. And really every regular season game, no matter what team it is, it's always going to be close in the NFL, and that's where, and that's really where Cutter just wasn't able to get it done. But his first year, you guys were struggling at midseason. His first year as head coach, 3-5. What changed in that locker room to have you guys go on that impressive 5-game win streak?
We got hit right in the mouth 2 games in a row. We played. I think it was Oakland and Atlanta within it was a Saturday and a Thursday game. A Sunday and a Thursday game.
Yeah, I remember that. That's when they went to overtime, correct?
Right, we went to overtime versus Oakland on Sunday, and then played Atlanta, and we might have gave up. I know it was over 1,000 yards those 2 games on defense, and we really everybody did some soul searching. We sat down, and if he just made it's hard to explain, but those 2 losses really made the team just come closer together, especially on defense. And we sat down with man, we can't allow this. We better than this. This. Get back down to the fundamentals, back to the basics, and let's just control what we can control and see what happens.
Yeah, and again, as Evan had said, that was a very, very impressive time to be a Bucs fan and just kind of watch everything happen, because that 5-game win streak, I mean, it was, for a while, the Bucs were, I would say at that time, one of the hotter teams in the NFL. Now, during that 5-game win streak, you called game on 2 of them, and I wanted to ask you, not only picking off Phillip Rivers to seal the game against who I believe was San Diego at the time. Wasn't sure if they were the LA Chargers. But the week after that, picking off Drew Brees to seal that game in Tampa. I mean, both of those for you, just walk us through it. How did you feel? How was that all for you?
It was an unbelievable feeling, just playing against 2 of the great quarterbacks, maybe of all time, definitely our generation, and just I've always been a big fan, huge fan of the X's and O's. That's a big reason why I want to coach when I finish. But just getting a chance to just play chess with those guys, okay, this is the coverage we in, so he see a couple different times what I'm doing. So then the next time I try to fake I'm doing that and do something else up and set a play. But it was a good time. I had a couple tips from watching film. That was the first time I really had a chance to start and not really play special teams, so I wasn't really focused on watching film on special teams. So I just finally got a chance to just sit down and really study strictly their offense and our responsibilities, and it really slowed the game down a lot for me.
Definitely, and as I said, 2 of those games very, very, I'd say fond for me, because it was surreal. Like I said, 5 in a row. It definitely was a great time. Now, those are some good memories as a Buck, but I wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite memory or a certain game or anything that sticks out above anything else? Your favorite memory as a Buccaneer?
I mean, my favorite play would definitely be the play versus Drew Brees that second week after that. Just the 2-minute drive, it was a play that we literally worked on in practice so many times, and we couldn't get the scout team to run it right. We're oh, this is how they run it. And we actually on defense arguing with each other no, this is how they run it. And then just when I saw that formation, I said something to Bradley McDougal, he was the other safety. I was saying something man, just protect me. If this route come, I'm about to end the game. I didn't say all that to him. I was Bradley, just protect me over the top. But in my head, I was this route come, I'm going to end the game right here. And then it happened so slow, I almost overran it. I couldn't hear anything in the stadium, but I could see everybody on the field yelling, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. And just that feeling, that was definitely my favorite play.
Definitely a rush. And I think one of my favorite things about watching it back, I put together some of the audio for the intro of the show today, and watching the clip again, I mean, at that time, like you said, you really can't hear what's going on the field. It's so loud in that stadium. Watching it back after the play is over, I mean, you can see it's so loud. The cameras are shaking. Everybody's freaking out. It is just an electric atmosphere in Raymond James after that play. So definitely a great time had by all there. But, Evan, I wanted to toss it back to you, man.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, that play versus New Orleans, to do that against a quarterback like Drew Brees, we all know how good Drew Brees is. You say it was film study. That was great anticipation by you. Just a fantastic. The timing was perfect. I know you said you almost overran it. Thank God you didn't. It was a 4th and 1, so that pass was past the first down marker. So they would have, I believe, that would have been across midfield. So that was a huge play, and that was a big reason why there's so much excitement in the stands because of that 5-game win streak, and of course you were a big part of that. But the quarterback on that 5-game win streak was Jameis Winston, and he played, his bugaboo has always been turnovers, protecting the football, and those 5 games he really protected the ball well. But I'm wondering, inside that locker room, who is Jameis Winston? Because you were with him for 3 seasons. Who is Jameis Winston as a football player?
I mean, he's a guy that everybody wants to be around. Like, people love being around him. Guys love playing with him, love playing for him. Like, he has a way, it's hard to explain, but just to make everybody around him better. I used to joke back when I was there. Sometimes when he talked to you, like, you feel like one of your uncles talking to you or something. Like, oh, like, even though he's like younger than you, but like, and you can tell like he really cared. Like, he goes out of his way to make sure he remembers like everybody's name, your family members. He'll come up and ask to me. Like, he don't ask Keith, "How's your son doing?" Keith, "How's Julian doing?" "Oh, that's my dog, man." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I wonder if he only do that to me, but I like pay attention to him, and then he'll go over to. I don't know. Gerald is the easy one, but I'm trying to think of, like a guy that doesn't play as much, maybe one of the bottom guys on the roster, and then he'll ask him the same thing. "Yo, Bob, how is your son Justin doing?" I'm like, oh wow, like he really takes his time to go out of his way, and little things like that make guys want to play for him. And I feel like it's a big part of football because bad things are gonna happen. You're gonna face adversity, but if you want to play for the guy next to you, it makes it a lot more easier.
Definitely.
Yeah, and actually, you mentioned Gerald McCoy there. Looking back at that Saints clip, after the interception, I know you said you really couldn't hear much. It looks like Gerald McCoy is the first one to you, though. It looks like he sort of just throws his arms up in the air, then goes. So did he say anything to you there that you can remember? Or, I mean, I know we all know Gerald McCoy is a leader, and on that defense, he's earned that captain spot. Was there anything said or anything like that?
Honestly, I have no idea. I don't remember a single word. Like, after I said whatever I said to Bradley, it was just kind of like, it was really just like a movie. Like, everything got silent. The play started. Like, I didn't hear the cadence or anything. Just, I saw, I think it was Snead. Once he put his foot in the ground, I said, okay, here it comes, caught it. And I don't remember anything until I got all the way to the locker room. Like,
you blinked and it was over. It was one of those type things. You know, you're in the locker room after the game. And speaking of guys in the locker room, we had brought up Jameis Winston, Gerald McCoy. Now, this is a question I kind of wanted to ask to get a feel of who's funny in there. I wanted to ask if you had anyone you can remember who was like the funniest guy on the team, or just any funny stories you might have.
You should have prepared me for this.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yes. Especially I've been out of that locker room for a couple months now, so we might have to come back to that one later. It'll give me a chance to think about it.
Okay, no worries. No worries. Now, excuse me, hang on. Okay, sorry. All right.
Hold on, let me go ahead and go right now. So, honestly, one of the funniest guys in the locker room was Fitzpatrick, actually.
Yeah?
Like, Fitzpatrick, he was great for the locker room. So, like, he know how to keep it light. He, like, any of the games that we play in the locker room, he'll participate. If it's ping pong, if it's basketball, if we, during training camp, playing cards, he know how to play them all. And he, obviously, he went to Harvard. He's an intelligent guy. So, he has these jokes that everybody don't understand all the time, but it cracks me up. And like sometimes we'll like look at each other and give each other that eye, like nobody got it but us.
Right.
So Keith, if you had the choice to play ping pong or basketball in that locker room, because I see they have the little hoop there. So what would you choose to play?
If I had a choice to play, I play it all. Like I play ping pong a little bit, basketball, and even me and AG got the cornhole started for a while, but we were hitting people walking by, so they got kind of out of hand, so we kind of cut that out. But I play it all, man.
I've seen some of the videos, man. Those ping pong matches, they get pretty heated. I know Alan Cross, he actually just recently retired. I heard he had his time to shine at the ping pong table. He did his thing, Mr. Honcho.
Oh, yeah, he did. And actually, like, sometimes I bet to fans, people on the outside looking in like, oh, these guys goofing around. But we don't do it all the time. But it's actually, it's competitive. So a lot of times you get there in the morning, man, Josh Robson, you get there early, play real quick, get our adrenaline pumping before we go into meetings and stuff. And we're not actually, like, drowsy in meetings. Or you'll see some guys play right before practice. and it's kind of like to get your brain firing before a practice or whatever.
Yeah,
But
kind of waking up the senses.
exactly.
Definitely.
And but as far as like the best guys on the team in ping pong, my top 4 would be not in any order, but Alan Cross, Justin Evans, Brian Anger, and then I like Riley game. Riley got a real defensive game, but I like his. Those are my top 4.
Nice, man. So we were asking about some of the things that, kind of go on in one Buck place, and I wanted to see if you had an opinion on what's been going on lately. So as we had discussed earlier, Dirk Cutter was relieved of his duties at the end of the Week 17 game. Buccaneers brought in Bruce Arians, and he brought in, I would say, a stacked staff. And I just wanted to see if you had an opinion on, BA himself and that staff that he's brought in as well. And, do you think they're going to hopefully do some good?
I hope they do. So the only one I have experience is Keith Armstrong, the special teams coach. I was with him in Atlanta, and I spent a lot of time in his office. Like, it was days we'd be there until 8:30 at night meeting, just trying to catch me up. But I love him. I love his style of coaching. And I know he'll have guys playing hard. He'll have guys playing to the whistle, and they'll be playing penalty-free. And then the only other guy, well, actually Cody Graham, too, so they brought him in to help out. So that's my guy. But everything I've heard about Bruce Arians and Ty Bowles has been nothing but great. I heard they're going to coach you hard, but then they're going to love you right after that off the field. So that's how I love to be coached. I want you to coach me hard on every little detail. But then also I want to see if you care once we leave the field.
Right. Evan, I did want to toss it back to you, my friend.
Yeah. Well, you did say about the special teams, and you were in Atlanta for a few games this year, and you were with on the same, I guess you could say, special teams unit as a guy who many say has cursed the Buccaneers, and that is kicker Matt Bryant. So, yeah, they say he's the ageless wonder, right? So, do you got any stories about Matt Bryant? Like, what is his approach? He's still kicking, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, so, I don't know much about kicking myself, but so when we first got there, when I first got to Atlanta, it was week 2, and his locker was about 3 lockers down, then 2 to the left down from me. And I just see this old guy in here. I'm like, who is this retired coach in here with us? Like, and then he's like on his phone, and then he was like, hey, my daughter's selling, I think, like Girl Scout cookies or cookies for a soccer team. How about all y'all buy 10? And so, like, it was like my second day there, so I didn't know whether or not I should laugh. I'm trying to figure out, like, who is this, like, coaching her, like, all the time? Like, I never see him in a meeting. I just see him in the locker room, like, not doing anything. And then I didn't realize until after the first game, I'm like, oh, that's Matt Bryant. And so we talked a lot just because he still had the house in Tampa. He was talking about selling me his house and talking about his times down here, but I don't know how he does it. Like, only time I see him is like in his locker and on the field. So I wish I had a secret woosah or stretching program, strength program. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure the Buccaneers would like to have that secret if you do have any information. Yeah, so basically that's a funny story. It really is, and like I said, Matt Bryant, who of course made the game-winning field goal against the Buccaneers. Really, in Week 6, he made the big-time field goal in the Bucs versus the Bucs, which pushed it to a 2-score game. I believe he got injured on that kick, actually. But that was a big-time kick, and you played in that game. So what was it like, playing for a team for a long time? You get familiar. What was it like finally playing against the Bucs?
It was crazy because, like, I knew the defense and special teams, like, in and out, all the calls. I knew if they were going to, like, disguise something or if they were going to change the word. I knew what the new code words would be. Like, I knew all that. Like, and then on offense, it's crazy, like, because going against the offense all the time in practice, you start to get a feel like, okay, this is what they do. But I've never, like, actually written it down to know. And so when they were asking me, the guys on defense, like, do you got any tips for us about the offense? I really didn't have anything for him. I'm like, so I told him about the personnel, but then once we got on the field, like to play before the game, pregame. I'm gonna talk to everybody I can pregame because when this game starts, I'm trying to choke somebody out. So I don't got no friends once this game starts.
Right. Now, another thing about that game, I mean, that was the game that just came down to the wire. I mean, it was that last effort play by the Bucs. You know, they had the laterals going side to side. Everybody's making these passes. Deshaun Jackson just 5 yards out. I'd say 5 or 10 yards out from the end zone. I wanted to ask if, you know, on the Atlanta sideline or around any of the Atlanta personnel, what the reaction was to that. I mean, I was at home watching it. I jumped up. I put my hands on my head. I didn't know how to feel for about 3 hours because it was close. So just to kind of get, you know, the opposing team's point of view, was there a general reaction to that?
So first things first, when they first came out in the formation, I knew what they were going to do, but it made me mad. I was pissed off at myself because that's one thing I didn't tell, like our defensive coach before the game or whatever during the week was about that play. But I remember us running that play, and Dirk and Mike Smith used to go back and forth all the time, like adding these plays in. And I might have actually helped them come up with that play because sometimes I would talk to Ryan Griffin or Fitzpatrick or any other backup quarterback. I'm like, well, if y'all attack right here and let her here, then they'll be wide open. So I might actually came up with that play. But when it started, our coaches on the sideline, they were panicking before the play started because somebody was misaligned. So I'm like, all right, here we go. But once it started, I saw him on the sideline wide open. I'm like, holy cow, like this play really about to work in the game. And luckily that ball hit the ground and Hump couldn't get a good pass. And so we was definitely over there sweating though.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think anybody expected that. I don't think anybody expected that. I do remember though in camp, I went down to camp. I live in Pennsylvania, and I went down for camp for a few days. I do remember them running that play, and as they were running it, I really didn't know what was going on. And then like an hour afterwards, I was like, "Wait a minute! You know, I've seen that before." So I'm sure you had experience with it. Yeah, that must have been something. But one last question about the Falcons and the Bucs. What were the big differences? Like when you get to Atlanta, it's your first team since college that, you know, you were in Tampa for 6 years. You know, you have to get used to some things, and then you come to Atlanta, and maybe, you know, how different was Atlanta compared to the Bucs?
I was all jacked up. Just my weekly schedule, my daily schedule. I didn't know exactly what time to get there. Like they start at 8. It's real crazy. They start at 8, and the Bucs start at 7:45. So it wasn't really much of a difference there. But it was just like they start lifting weights at 8, and the Bucs start a team meeting or a special team meeting at 7:45, and so just like how you prepare your day and get started, you got to be prepared different. Like, cause it's different for me to get ready to lift weights versus getting ready to go to meet. It's like I need to warm my brain up. Well, now I got to warm my whole body. So little things like that, and then like I had like exactly what I ate pretty much every day in Tampa figured out, and then I get to Atlanta. I'm like, where is this? Like y'all don't have. All right, well, yeah, y'all do things a little bit different, and then how they do their meetings, like that was the big difference for me. Like I walked into the first team meeting and they playing music videos, and I'm like, is this like a joke or something? Like, are y'all pranking me right now? But yeah, so they playing music videos when you walk in, and guys in the team meeting shooting basketball. They had like Nerf gun competitions in the team meetings. But they did it because everything about their Wednesday was all about competition. So they wanted guys to be competing, and you did it in front of everybody. Normally, it was an offensive player versus a defensive player that he would call up there. So things like that were so much different. And then the weather, it actually got pretty cold up there, so I wasn't prepared for that.
Definitely.
All right, yeah. So let's settle the debate right now. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. You've gone up against probably both in practice. Who's better, Mike Evans or Julio Jones?
Oh.
See, I was around Mike a lot longer, and I've seen him like actually in training camp. So I got more like of a scouting. I got more stuff on him, but just how like Julio to be that big and to get in and out of those breaks so fast is like unbelievable to see in person. But him and Mike are like different receivers. Like Mike would be better at going up, high pointing the ball, and catching it in traffic, taking a hit when he catches the ball. But then Julio, he's like more like a twitchy athlete where he's like faster, jump higher, getting in and out of breaks faster. But then like I think Mike has better hands, and he has like better like ball control, body control when he going to high point the balls.
Okay.
Very, very interesting.
Okay. Well, Mr. Tandy, I know you said you only have a specific window of time, and while we still have you here as we wrap things up, I wanted to ask you, we've got you on at a perfect time, the biggest game of the season coming up just a couple of days from now. That's Super Bowl 53. Now, I want to ask you, who you got?
As much as I hate picking against Brady, I got the Rams.
Wow. I mean, if I was a betting man, which let me just say that I'm not, I don't think New England loses. I truly don't. I don't think they lose 2 in a row. That's the thing, man. I don't know if Tom Brady's going to go back-to-back and go home disappointed. You know what I mean?
That's what I think, too, but I just keep looking at really the Rams D-line and those two in the middle. Like, they can almost like single-handedly like stop the run or make everything go outside, and then they can also get pressure on the quarterback inside. And that's one of the things when you play Brady, you want to get pressure up the middle real quick. And so that's my main reason is that.
I mean, we've seen Aaron Donald. He's the best in the league at getting pressure up the middle.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then Ndamukong Suh. Yeah,
he probably had his best 2 games for them in the playoffs since he's been there.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah, and I mean, you've played against Tom Brady, I believe, twice in your career. Once in 2013, and then once in 2017, that Thursday night game. So, is that what your guys' game plan was? Pretty much, like Gerald, you're gonna need to rush them and get more pressure up to middle, because everybody says if you're able to hit Brady, you're able to beat him.
And that was one thing. Actually, I missed that Thursday night game, but that was one thing that we did good that game. Like Gerald and Clint McDonald was getting pressure up the middle, but he's going to get rid of the ball quick. So you want to make sure your guys, you got your tackling fundamentals down because you can get rid of the ball quick to those running backs and those slot receivers. And if you play in the zone, it's going to end up being like your linebackers got to make that tackle in space. So sometimes the game plan is to get pressure up the middle. And if you play in zone, make sure everybody has their eyes on Tom Brady. So when you throw the ball to the flat or throw those short passes, you have 2 or 3 guys rallying to it, so it's not a open field tackle, single tackle every time.
Right. Yeah. Right. So you were probably on that sideline, right, for that game. How did it feel seeing the rookie Justin Evans get his first career interception off Tom Brady on the first drive?
Well, I almost felt better than when I got mine, but. Just watching it, Thursday night game, pretty sure we might have had the red jerseys on, and that guy just so athletic. He can put his body in positions like I don't even dream of that. I know it hurt me getting in those positions, and I'm pretty sure he was like sideways, and the leg was the other way, body.
Fantastic catch.
And we see him do that stuff all the time in practice. But just seeing him like make that play versus the greatest quarterback of all time, like, okay, there we go. We got a good one on our hands.
Well, Mr. Tandy, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate the time, and we appreciate your time in Tampa here as well. And before you go, I just wanted to ask if you had any causes or any charities you may have supported you wanted to put out there so we can promote them here on the show.
The main charity I work with back home is the Boys and Girls Club of Hopkinsville, Kentucky. But I'm always like just helping out. Anybody on the team have something. The guys that still in Tampa that have things, I always like help those guys out and do. If they call me, I'm usually one of the first ones there.
Totally. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, former Buccaneers safety Keith Tandy joining us here today on the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you so much, Mr. Tandy, and we hope you really do have a great rest of your day. Thanks for coming on with us.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty.
Yeah, there you go, guys. So, exclusive interview there for you.
Yeah,
we got some good things, right? I believe I believe we got him to admit that Mike Evans has better hands than Julio Jones.
Oh, he didn't want to answer that one clearly. I mean,
nope.
There is a true debate there.
I told him, I said, you don't have to answer this. I said, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening with us again. I would say probably the most high-profile guest we've had here on the show so far. Former Bucs
We've had a lot of
safety.
good ones.
Oh yeah.
No disrespect to the other ones, but
yeah. Let me not burn any bridges. But it's been a really, really good time. Hopefully, he was able to answer some of the guys' questions you had sent us on Instagram a little bit earlier today. Evan and I had a really good time, and I mean, I'm pumped up now. I know the interview's over, but I'm in a really good mood now. That went really well.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoy it. Maybe we'll have an episode for you soon. Probably not next week or anything, because this is sort of a slow period, but things are going to start picking up around this team.
Yeah.
This team is going to start making some moves, particularly with their roster. Not necessarily adding players yet, but with their roster, they're going to start trimming some of the fat here in the next 3-4 weeks.
Definitely. And as you had said, Evan, this is the time of year where things are just a little bit slow. We've been saying that the past few episodes, but I mean, this is the time of the year where you're scrolling down Twitter, or you're scrolling down Facebook, or wherever you get your Bucs news, and you're really starting to see some of the outlandish rumors. I would say most of the rumors you'd see right now, dismiss it with a grain of salt. Could happen, depends on your source, but don't believe everything you read, people. Just don't. But ladies and gentlemen, that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, whether it's on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or Podbean. You can follow the show on Instagram at Cannon Fire Podcast. You can also find us on Twitter at Cannon Fire Pod. You can follow my co-host Evan at Bucswave, formerly Bucs Football, on Instagram and Twitter. And make sure you check out our partners at pewterreport.com for some of the best Bucs coverage in the game. I am Rhett, signing off for Evan, and we'll see you next time. Go Bucs!